Every morning, I wake up with the weight of the world already on my shoulders. It's not the kind of weight you can see, but it's there, like a shadow following me, no matter where I go. You might not notice it, but I do. It's in the way the world looks at me, judges me before I even speak. Before I even step outside. How long before you start to believe the world sees you as less? As something to be feared, even when you haven't done a thing to deserve it. What if the world saw you differently, just because of the skin you're in? Michael steps out of his apartment, the door clicking shut behind him. The world feels heavy today. As he walks down the street, the familiar noise of the city surrounds him, but there's an undercurrent, an awareness that he's always on the edge. His steps echo as he approaches the bus stop, where he sees a group of people chatting. He doesn't belong to their conversation, but their eyes are on him. As he waits, a man in his 40s, dressed in a suit, walks past. He hesitates for a second before locking his eyes on Michael, then quickly looks away, clutching his briefcase tighter. Michael's stomach tightens. Not again. Why does it always feel like I'm being watched? Like I'm not even allowed to exist in peace. The bus arrives. He steps aboard, the driver glancing at him with barely a nod. Michael takes a seat at the back, feeling the stares of others in his peripheral vision. A young woman sitting nearby shifts her purse slightly closer to her. The unspoken judgment is clear, but Michael doesn't engage. He looks straight ahead, trying to ignore the tightening in his chest. This happens every day, but it doesn't get any easier. Will they ever see me as just a man? The bus pulls away, the world outside racing past. Michael's heart races too, but it's a fight he's learned to live with. Michael's day unfolds like every other, each moment weighed down by invisible barriers, the constant reminder of a world that sees him differently. He walks into the office building, the familiar glass doors swinging open with a soft hiss. The receptionist, a young woman with a bright smile, greets him with a pleasant good morning. But Michael can see it in her eyes, the hesitation, the subtle shift in her demeanor. She gives him the same polite smile she gives everyone, but there's a slight wariness in the way she looks away as he approaches the desk. Receptionist, with a forced smile. Morning, Mr. Michael. How can I help you today? Michael, nodding, his voice steady but with a hint of weariness. Just the usual. I'm here to check in. He can tell by her body language, her tense posture, the way she's standing slightly behind the desk, that she's uncomfortable. It's something he's come to expect. Nothing overt, nothing that would get her into trouble, but it's there. Always. Michael walks past the receptionist, his shoes clicking against the polished floor, the noise echoing in the sterile hallway. He passes by colleagues, a few nodding in greeting, but he can feel the slight distance, the unspoken barrier. John, one of his co-workers, offers a half-hearted wave from his cubicle. They've known each other for years, but there's always been this awkwardness between them. A silence, never broken, always hanging in the air. Today, John doesn't even bother to acknowledge Michael beyond that brief wave. Michael, thinking to himself, quietly, how long can I keep pretending it doesn't bother me? Pretend I'm not seen as different. He pushes the thought away, focusing instead on the stack of papers on his desk, but the unease lingers. As the morning drags on, he finds himself on another conference call. He's contributing, his voice confident, offering a solution that could save the company time and money. But as he speaks, he senses the unease from the others on the call. Their silence speaks volumes. There's always a delay, a slight hesitation when it's his turn to speak. It's like they're unsure whether they should listen to him, unsure if someone like him should be in the room. Co-worker, interrupting his point, with a hint of condescension. That's interesting, Michael, but I think we might need to go with something more conventional. Something that fits the mold. The dismissive tone stings more than it should. Michael feels a wave of frustration wash over him, but he holds his ground. He knows this drill all too well. Don't react. Don't let them see you sweat. He offers a polite smile, nods, and shifts his focus back to the presentation, biting back the urge to speak out. Michael, thinking, trying to calm himself. I should just let it go. I've heard it all before. Lunch arrives, and Michael steps outside to get some air. He walks down the busy street, passing a bustling cafe. A woman standing by the door smiles at him, but it's not a friendly smile. It's a tight, nervous grin, the kind people give when they're not quite sure how to act. Michael feels his heart rate quicken. What now? He wonders. He steps inside the cafe, orders a coffee, and waits by the counter. The barista, a young man with a quick smile, hands him his drink, but he can feel the slight tremble in the young man's hands as he does. It's another moment, another sign that Michael is seen as different. Barista, nervously. Here you go, sir. Have a nice day. Michael, softly to himself. Everywhere I go, it's always the same. Michael steps outside and takes a deep breath, trying to shake the feeling of being an outsider. But the truth is, it's exhausting. Every moment, every interaction, is weighed down by the silent, unseen prejudice that surrounds him. He forces himself to keep walking, but the weight of it all never quite lifts. Michael walks into Mr. Anderson's office with a steady, purposeful step, but the tightness in his chest is undeniable. He's been here countless times before, but today feels different. Mr. Anderson, a man he has worked with for years, barely looks up from his desk as Michael enters. Mr. Anderson, without a smile, his tone businesslike. Michael, have a seat. We need to talk about your recent performance. Michael sits down slowly, his mind already racing. He's heard this before. Always the same words, but today it feels heavier, more deliberate. The air between them thickens as Mr. Anderson folds his hands and looks up, his eyes briefly meeting Michael's. There's no warmth in his gaze. Mr. Anderson, his voice low, controlled. You've been more direct in meetings lately. Some of the team have found it a bit unsettling. Michael's stomach turns. He knows what this means. Direct. Unsettling. The words hang in the air like a trap. He has been speaking up, offering solutions, trying to be heard. But in the eyes of those around him, it's always a problem. A problem they never want to address openly. His chest tightens, and he leans forward, trying to hold back the frustration rising within him. Michael, trying to keep his voice even, though his hands are clenched. I'm just doing my job, Mr. Anderson. I'm offering solutions that will move us forward. That's what we're here to do, isn't it? Mr. Anderson, his expression hardening slightly. Yes, but it's more than just offering solutions. It's about how you deliver them. People are starting to feel uncomfortable. Michael bites his lip, trying not to let the words affect him. He knows this dance all too well. It's the same reason he's always felt like an outsider. The feeling that no matter how hard he tries, he'll never be one of them. He takes a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm, but the anger burns inside him. Michael, his voice steadier now, but with a hint of edge. Maybe they're uncomfortable, because I'm not just agreeing with everything that's said. Maybe it's time someone spoke up. Mr. Anderson, sighing, as if weary of the conversation. Michael, I understand your point, but sometimes it's not about speaking up. It's about fitting in, about knowing your place. The words hit Michael like a punch to the gut. Fitting in. Knowing your place. The subtext is clear. He's been told time and again that his contributions are too bold, too out of line. That who he is, his very presence, has always been something to be adjusted, something to be toned down. Michael, his voice rising, frustration slipping through. I've been toning it down for years, Mr. Anderson. I've been fitting in. But what if I don't want to anymore? What if I want to be seen for who I am? Not just tolerated? The room goes silent. Mr. Anderson looks at him with an expression Michael can't quite read. It's not anger, not concern. It's a mixture of both, something more chilling. Mr. Anderson, softly, almost dismissively. Maybe it's best we find a way to recalibrate your approach, Michael. We don't want any more issues. Michael stands abruptly, his chair scraping the floor with a sound that seems to echo too loudly in the quiet room. His fists clench at his sides, and he's done pretending to stay small. Michael, coldly with finality. I won't change, Mr. Anderson. Not for you. Not for anyone. He turns and walks out of the office without another word, leaving the silence hanging behind him. He knows what he's just done. But for the first time in years, he doesn't feel guilty. The hallway is empty, but Michael's pulse is racing. I won't be silenced. Not anymore. The words settle in his mind as he walks toward the elevator. The weight he's carried for so long is finally starting to lift, and he knows that this is just the beginning. The weight of the day presses down on Michael as he walks through the office doors, the echo of his footsteps loud in the otherwise quiet hallway. He can feel the tension thick in the air, a heaviness that's become almost familiar. His earlier conversation with Mr. Anderson has lingered in his mind, and the disheartening words still echo in his head. Tone it down. Fit in. But he knows deep down that he can't keep quiet anymore. He can't keep pretending that nothing is wrong. As Michael walks past the rows of cubicles, he can feel the subtle shifts in energy. His co-workers are whispering behind their screens, glancing at him when they think he isn't looking. It's the same old routine, the same judgment, but today something inside him snaps. Today, he's done holding back. Michael, to himself, under his breath. No more. He takes a deep breath, walks toward his desk, and begins pulling out the files for the upcoming meeting. The room feels too small, the air too thick, but he pushes through. He's not just going to sit there and take it anymore. He's been silent for far too long, and now he's ready to make his voice heard. The meeting starts. Mr. Anderson stands at the front, speaking in his usual polished tone. But today, Michael hears something different. He hears the slight edge in Mr. Anderson's voice as he speaks to the team. The subtle dismissiveness in his words. The way he speaks to Michael, like he's nothing more than a tool to be used, not a person. It's something Michael has tolerated for years, but now, with every passing second, it feels like a slap in the face. Mr. Anderson, addressing the room, but his gaze never quite meets Michael's. We need to improve efficiency, streamline the process. Michael, you've suggested some changes, but I'm not sure they'll be well received. We don't want to risk upsetting the balance. The words cut deep. Appending the balance? Michael knows what this means. It's the same tired excuse they always use. They're comfortable with the status quo, and it's that comfort that keeps him on the outside, always fighting just to be heard. His hands tremble, but he forces himself to stand up. The room falls silent as all eyes turn toward him. The knot in his stomach tightens, but he ignores it. This is the moment. He can't go back now. Michael, his voice steady, but the fire in his eyes is unmistakable. You talk about balance, but what about fairness? What about the people who don't have the luxury of staying silent? You don't get to tell me to fit in anymore. I've tried. I've played by your rules, but it's never enough. You keep asking me to change, to be less, to blend in. Well, I'm done. The room is still. There's a moment of stunned silence, and for the first time, Mr. Anderson looks directly at Michael. His face betrays nothing, no surprise, no anger, just a cold, calculating look. But Michael feels something inside him shift. For once, he doesn't feel the need to apologize. He's not asking for permission. He's demanding respect. Michael, his voice growing stronger, more determined. I'm not going to shrink myself to make others comfortable. I have a right to speak up, to be heard. And I won't stop just because it makes you uncomfortable. There's a sharp intake of breath from around the room. Some of his colleagues shift uncomfortably in their seats, but others look at him differently. Some with quiet admiration, others with uncertainty. But Michael doesn't care. He's done being the quiet one. He's done being the token who has to smile and nod while others decide his fate. Margaret, speaking up softly, but with unmistakable support. Michael's right. We've been asking him to be something he's not. We've all seen what he's capable of, and it's time we gave him the space to do what he does best. Her words hit harder than Michael expects. There's a ripple in the room now, a shift in the atmosphere. Some of his colleagues nod, others stay quiet, but for the first time, Michael feels like he's not fighting alone. Margaret's voice is the spark that ignites something inside him. The feeling of isolation he's carried for so long begins to fade, replaced with something stronger, the power of being seen. Michael, looking at the room, his voice firm and resolute. I don't need your approval. I just need to be seen for who I am. I won't apologize for that. The meeting continues, but Michael knows the dynamic has shifted. He's not sure what will happen next, but for the first time in a long while, he feels like he's in control. He sits back down at the table, his chest rising and falling with a newfound sense of purpose. The words are still hanging in the air, but now there is words. And for the first time, they carry weight. The hours drag on as Michael sits at his desk, the hum of the office and the chatter of colleagues fading into the background. His thoughts are consumed with the events of the morning, the meeting with Mr. Anderson, the tension in the air, and the disheartening words that still sting. Tone it down. Fit in. He can feel the weight of those words pressing on him, but there's a shift inside him. Something has changed. For the first time, he feels a spark of something stronger than the usual resignation. It's as though a door has opened, and he knows he can't go back to the way things were before. Margaret walks by his desk again, this time slowing down when she sees him lost in thought. She pauses, her expression soft but filled with quiet concern. Michael looks up at her, and for a brief moment, their eyes meet. He sees the understanding in hers, and something inside him shifts again. Margaret, gently. Michael, you okay? Her voice is calm, but there's a strength in it that catches his attention. He leans back in his chair, sighing deeply, the weight of the morning still lingering, but it's different now. The anger, the frustration, it's all still there, but it's no longer just a burden. It's a realization, a fire that's burning, pushing him to do something different. Michael, pausing, his voice quieter than usual. I don't think I've ever been okay, Margaret. But today, I felt like I finally said what needed to be said. Margaret, smiling slightly, her voice full of warmth. You did more than that. You stood up. For yourself, for everyone. The words hang in the air between them, and for a moment, Michael feels the weight of them settle in. He's never thought of it that way, but Margaret's right. Today was different. Today, he found his voice. Michael, sitting up straighter, his eyes a little brighter. I'm not going to let them silence me anymore, Margaret. I'm done trying to fit in. It's time for them to hear me. Margaret, nodding with understanding, her voice strong. That's the Michael I've always known. It's about time the world sees you for who you really are. Her support feels like a lifeline. For the first time, Michael doesn't feel alone in this. The isolation he's carried for so long starts to fade, replaced by something stronger, a sense of unity, of purpose. Margaret has always been his ally, but today, her words carry more weight than they ever have before. He's no longer just standing alone. He's standing with someone who believes in him, and that belief gives him the strength to keep going. Later that afternoon, Michael heads to the break room to get some fresh air. He steps into the small space, his mind still racing, but when he sees Margaret sitting by herself, sipping her coffee, he knows he needs to talk to her. He approaches, his steps more confident than usual. He pauses for a moment, taking in the sight of her before finally speaking. Michael, his voice more composed, his tone firmer. You know, I've been thinking about what you said. I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. I've spent too many years just going along with things, trying to fit in, trying to play the part. Margaret, looking up at him, her eyes kind and supportive. And now, Michael, his gaze steady, resolute. Now, I'm ready to stop pretending. I'm done waiting for permission to speak up. I'm going to do it my way. The words feel like a weight lifting off his shoulders. He can feel the tension that's been building inside him for so long start to unravel. It's like a dam breaking open. He's finally letting go of the things that have held him back for years. For the first time in a long time, he feels like he's truly seen. Margaret, smiling, her voice full of pride. I knew it. That's who you are, Michael. Not the quiet one who just takes what comes, but the one who stands up and fights for what's right. There's a warmth in her words that fills him with something more than just hope. It's validation. It's recognition. Michael has always struggled with the feeling that no one saw him for who he truly was, until now. Margaret's words remind him that he's not invisible, that his voice matters. And with that realization, he feels a strength rising within him that he's never known before. Michael, his voice filled with determination, the fire in his chest growing. I've been holding back for so long, thinking I had to be something I'm not. But no more. It's time I let them hear who I really am. As he walks back to his desk, there's a new sense of purpose in his step. The office feels different today. The glances, the whispers, they're still there, but they no longer carry the same weight. Michael knows now that the power lies within him. He doesn't need to shrink himself to fit in. He's going to stand tall and let the world see who he truly is. For the first time, he feels ready to embrace the change that's coming, and he knows it starts with him. As the afternoon settles in, Michael feels a shift in the office's atmosphere. The weight of the morning's confrontation still lingers, but now there's a sense of clarity, a sense of purpose that's been missing for so long. He's finally stopped pretending to be someone he's not, and though the tension hasn't completely dissipated, it's no longer the oppressive force it once was. He's no longer shrinking to fit into a mold that was never made for him. Margaret comes by again, her steps measured, but this time her eyes carry an expression of quiet pride. Michael notices it immediately, but it's not just her pride that draws his attention. It's the way others around him seem to be acting. The usual awkwardness when he passes by has begun to fade, replaced with something more genuine. His co-workers no longer look at him like an outsider. They're beginning to see him for who he truly is. Margaret, softly with a knowing smile. You know, Michael, I've been hearing things around the office. People are talking good things for a change. Michael, raising an eyebrow, his voice cautious but curious. Good things? Like what? Margaret, nodding, her tone more serious now. People are finally starting to recognize your contributions. And I think they're starting to realize how much you've had to put up with. There's been some talk about changes, about making sure everyone gets heard. The words sink in slowly, like a steady stream of relief washing over him. For the first time, he's not just being acknowledged for his ideas. He's being seen as someone who belongs, who deserves to be heard. Michael can feel the subtle shift around him. The quiet nods of approval from colleagues, the respectful glances, they're small, but they're enough. They signify something bigger, something that Michael thought would never come to pass. Michael, looking at Margaret, his voice steady but with a hint of awe. I never thought I'd see the day when people actually listened. I mean, really listened. It's like something's finally changing around here. Margaret, smiling gently. It is. And I think you've played a big part in that. It's not just the words you said, Michael. It's the fact that you stood your ground. You made them realize they can't keep ignoring the truth. The realization hits him like a wave. He never thought that standing up for himself would spark a change, not just in him, but in the way others view him. The years of playing it safe, of staying silent, of letting others dictate his worth, all of it feels like a distant memory. The path forward is clear now, and it's his to choose. As Michael sits back at his desk, a message pops up on his computer screen. It's from Mr. Anderson, a meeting request for later that afternoon. The familiar knot of anxiety tightens in his stomach for a moment, but this time, it's different. He's not afraid. He doesn't need to shrink anymore. He's ready to face whatever comes next. With a deep breath, he clicks accept. Later that afternoon, he enters Mr. Anderson's office once again, but this time, he walks in with a quiet confidence. Mr. Anderson looks up from his desk, his expression neutral, but Michael can tell there's a shift in the air. The tension from their last meeting isn't there anymore. The room feels less like a battleground and more like a space where change can happen. Mr. Anderson, his voice measured but with a hint of hesitation. Michael, I've been thinking about our conversation earlier. I want to apologize for how I handled things. I should have listened more, and I should have valued your input. You've been right all along. Michael, his voice calm but resolute. I appreciate that, Mr. Anderson. But it's not just about apologies. It's about action. We need to make sure everyone's voice is heard, not just when it's convenient. There's a long pause as Mr. Anderson nods, the weight of the conversation settling between them. Michael can see it in his eyes. There's a genuine shift, a willingness to change, not just because he has to, but because he understands now. Michael stands his ground, not looking for validation, but simply asking for what's fair, respect, equality, and a seat at the table where decisions are made. Mr. Anderson, finally speaking with more sincerity. I agree, and I think we need to work together to make sure the team reflects that. I'm committed to making sure things change. Michael, with a final decisive nod. I'm glad to hear that, but we can't stop here. We have to make it a priority, not just a nice idea. As Michael leaves the office, he feels lighter than he has in a long time. The office is still the same place, filled with the same faces, but for Michael, everything has changed. He's not just a part of the team anymore. He's an active participant in the conversation, and he knows this is just the beginning. The change he's been waiting for has started, and he's ready to keep pushing forward. The sun has begun to dip below the horizon as Michael walks out of the office, the quiet hum of the city surrounding him. It's been a long day, but for the first time in months, he feels a sense of relief. The weight that had once been pressing down on him, every sideways glance, every whispered judgment, seems to have lifted, if only for a moment. It's not that the battle is over, but for now, Michael has found something far more important, his voice. As he steps outside, he takes a deep breath of the cool evening air, letting it fill his lungs. There's something freeing about it, something invigorating. It's as if, with every step, the world has become just a little bit brighter. He's done hiding, done staying silent, done pretending to be smaller than he is. The road ahead is still uncertain, but for the first time, he feels like he's in control of it. Michael, thinking to himself, with quiet reflection, I always thought I had to be something I'm not, just to fit in. All those years of pretending, trying to be the person they wanted me to be. But not anymore. He stops for a moment on the sidewalk, his eyes lifting to the glowing city skyline ahead. The lights of the buildings reflect a promise. Things can change. They will change. Michael knows that his fight is far from over, but there's a sense of calm now, a quiet confidence he's never had before. The internal conflict that once held him back has dissolved, replaced by something stronger, the courage to be himself, no matter the cost. He reaches for his phone, dialing Margaret's number. She's been a constant presence, a steady source of support through everything. She's the one person who's always seen him for who he truly is, and for that, he's grateful. The phone rings a few times before she picks up. Margaret, cheerfully, her voice full of warmth. Hey Michael, how's it going? You look a little more at ease than this morning. Michael, smiling softly, his voice steady but filled with gratitude. You could say that. It's been a long day, but I think I'm starting to figure things out. I've been thinking a lot about what you said earlier, about not letting anyone silence me. It hit me harder than I thought. Margaret, laughing lightly, but there's sincerity in her tone. I'm glad to hear that. You deserve to be heard, Michael. Don't ever forget that. Michael, his smile widening, his voice filled with a quiet determination. I won't. I'm done pretending, Margaret. I'm done shrinking. From now on, I'll stand tall and let them see who I really am. I'm ready for whatever comes next. There's a pause, and Margaret lets out a soft sigh of approval, as if she's been waiting for this moment too. Her belief in him has never wavered, and now, Michael realizes how much strength he's drawn from her unwavering support. Margaret, gently, with a note of pride. I've always known you had it in you. It was just a matter of time before you saw it too. Now the world's gonna see it too. And you're not alone in this fight. Michael, reflecting as he walks. Thank you, Margaret. I couldn't have done it without you. Really. As the conversation winds down, Michael steps onto a quieter street, away from the hustle and bustle of the office. His steps feel lighter now, his mind clearer. There's a stillness inside him, a sense of peace that he hasn't felt in years. He's always been the one to keep his head down, to avoid the confrontation, to blend into the background. But now, he knows he can't do that anymore. Not if he wants to truly live the life he deserves. The world may not change overnight, and the struggle may continue, but Michael is ready for it. He's ready to face the challenges, to stand firm in his beliefs, and to embrace the journey ahead. Michael, reflecting as he walks. Maybe it's not about changing the world all at once. Maybe it's about changing one moment at a time. And today was my moment. As he reaches his apartment, Michael pauses for a moment before entering. He takes a deep breath, feeling a quiet sense of pride. He knows the journey ahead won't be easy, but now he feels ready. For the first time in his life, he's not afraid of standing out, of being heard. And as he steps inside, he knows that this is only the beginning. In the end, Michael learns a profound lesson: the power of speaking up and staying true to oneself. For years, he hid behind the mask of conformity, shrinking himself to fit into a world that didn't see him for who he truly was. He faced subtle, yet ever-present, discrimination, small but constant reminders that he was expected to be less than he was. But today, he chose to stand tall, speak his truth, and demand the respect he deserved. What we often fail to realize is that silence can be the heaviest burden of all. It may seem easier to blend in, to keep our heads down, but in doing so, we lose a piece of ourselves. Michael's breakthrough came when he realized that no one could silence him unless he allowed it. The moment he stopped shrinking, he reclaimed his power, and in doing so, he found his voice not just for himself, but for everyone around him. The lesson is clear. Never be afraid to stand your ground, no matter how difficult it may seem. The world may not always be kind, but if we refuse to be silenced, we have the power to change it. Michael's journey is a reminder that sometimes, speaking up is the first step toward freedom. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you felt like you had to shrink or hide who you really are just to fit in or avoid conflict? What was the turning point that made you finally decide to stand up for yourself and be true to who you are? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss how finding our voice can change our lives, and why it's so important to stand firm in our beliefs, even when it's hard. Don't forget to like, share, and tag someone who could use a little inspiration today.